We're now been joined by an agriculture expert, and of course, the MD of Bama Farms is Wale Oyikoya, and we'll be looking at the developments that have been recorded in the agriculture sector and how much it has contributed to the growth of the Nigerian economy. Of course, we all know that agriculture is one of the greatest contributors to the gross domestic product of the economy. Wale Oyikoya is right here. Thank you for coming on the program. Same to you. Now, let's begin on this note. I'm sure everyone out there, to some extent, been able to see some level of impact on the development of the agriculture sector. But in your view, how would you assess the efforts by the government to grow the sector and the impact this has made on the economy?
Well, I would say they have tried, but have not got to where we are going because there are so many things to go on in the agricultural sector. We don't have to be here and be deceiving ourselves because I'm very close to the grassroots of farmers and I know what farmers are really going through. Though the government are putting so many policies to help the agricultural sector, but is it really getting to the real farmers in order for the populace to really enjoy it? I will give so many examples. If you look at 4 years ago, I remember we were selling a chicken there, maybe cockerel for 1,200. If you go to the market, about 2,000 naira. Are we making progress? I don't think so. But what I can only say that the government on the federal level already tried their possible best, but there's a lot of improvement that need to be done, not only in the federal levels, even the state level. I keep on saying that why does the state keep on running to the federal government for the federal allocations when we have so many ways to generate funds in the states, especially in terms of agriculture? But this is the only sector that can provide more employment, more income, increase in GDP. Because if you look at it now, we like it or not, all sector that is really affecting us now, that it brings us to where we are, contributed about 70% of our GDP, while agriculture is taking the back burners. And it's not supposed to be. Because if you look at the olden days where we used to have the granite pyramids, cocoa and rubber, that is where Nigeria was known to be. But all those ones have been thrown into the garbage now. But I believe there's room for improvement because it's not about just doing agriculture on the TV, but you have to be able to see the impact. Is it really putting food on the table of average Nigerians?
Okay, I'd like us to look at this issue in this way. What are the successes and what are the failures? I'd like us to, differentiate between what the government has done, that you are close to the grassroots. What kind of success, what level of success do you think that they've recorded this year? Let's start on that.
I think it's just on the fertilizer that can give them credits on. And at the same time, fertilizer is the least of the problem of most farmers. Because when we talk of fertilizer, it's just people on growing cash crops or on the grains. What about people on the animal husbandry, like people in the poultry and other sectors? And if you look at it, the cassava we are really talking about, look at the price of gari today. It's really rising. It's not coming down. When you look at the price of maize, I remember about 3 years ago when we used to buy the maize for our poultry, it used to be like 24,000 pounds. Look at it today, 48,000. So it's like double. If you go to the market now, look at the basket of tomatoes. You can't pay less than 14,000. About 2-3 years ago, it wasn't like that. So there have been some sources, but the sources have not really been recorded, have not been really been fed by average Nigerian. And I'll give you an example that up to this moment, 85% of the food we eat in this country are being imported. Are we improving or we are regressing? Was it not yesterday I asked one of my workers to go and buy me a cutlass? Do you know what is written in the cutlass? Made in Ghana. Are you telling me that we have to go to Ghana to buy the cutlass that we're using to ply our land here? So a lot of, to me, there's more of propagandas in this thing. Let me be honest with you. Because average Nigerians are not really feeling the impact of agricultural transformation agenda, and it's not supposed to be so. Because look at the rice production we are talking about. You go to the market today, you can never see most of this local rice in the market. You see all this imported. 50% of rice we see today are being imported. So for them saying that, for the federal government coming up that they have tried their possible best, they need to go to the market. They need to go to the grassroots. They need to go to the rural farmers and see their failure and their sources. So There have been success, there have been failure, but the failure have been more than the success as I can recall, because I still remember we have a meeting with some of the farmers. Most of them are really crying foul because they could not really access most of the funds that they're supposed to need. If you look at the pattern of Nigerians, you see that most of the festive period, the prices of our agri products always go up. Why? Because they target the festive period, and it's not supposed to be, because we eat every day. It shouldn't be during the festive period. And most of the advanced country, or any country that we can talk about, during the festive period, the price of food is supposed to come down, because they are trying to drive out what they have already produced for them to produce new one in the coming year. But it's not so in Nigeria. During the festive period, that is when you always have a high cost of food. And it's not supposed to be. And to me, there's a lot for the government to be done. And we need a government that is going to be listening to the real people that in the sector, like the stakeholders in the agriculture sector, not that you just said that you have a policy, that policy that's not really working. The Minister for Agri, I give him some credit, you understand? But he cannot do it alone. There are so many sycophants under them that are really derailing all the sources that they're supposed to have taken. Yes, as I said, there are so many beautiful policies. But are these policies being implemented in order to cushion the effect of food shortage in the country? Because we like it or not, 2015 is going to be extremely, extremely difficult. Extremely.
Okay. We'll look at 2015 later, but I would like us to still dwell on the issues in 2014. You talked about our food that we consume, 80% of them are imported. Yes. And that's brings to the issue of smuggling, because there's been reports that there's still a high level of smuggling that actually went on in 2014. Were there efforts at all to tackle this challenge?
Well, to me, our borders are too porous. It's just like when I spoke with the controller, he was telling me that if you stretch your hand like this, that you can see smugglers going underneath. So our borders are not tightened. And we are just giving jobs to the neighboring countries like Cotonou and Togo and Cameroon. Why our own youth are looking for jobs? They have nothing to do. Because I see no reason in a country that we are so blessed, and 80% of the food that we eat have to be imported. Go to most of these big supermarkets.
Isn't that we didn't have enough men to face the smugglers?
Not that we don't have enough men. The problem is we cannot compete with this foreign food coming in because of the cost of production. The cost of production is extremely high. The infrastructure is not there. The encouragement is not there. And you can look at the environment that they are bringing this food, where they are giving them of about 1.5, highest 2.5%. And we are still struggling to get 28%. And the profit margin of a farmer, you like it or is plus minus 10%. So if you get a loan of 28%, how are you going to break even? So I think the government have a lot to do, because they are killing the local contents. By you allowing the foreign food to come to this country, you are telling us that we cannot produce our own food, but it's not so. There are so many able, capable young men that are ready to farm, but the encouragement is not there. And that is where the government needs to come in. How are they going to attract the youth to come into this sector? Because if you look at most people doing it now, they leave it to the old people in the rural area. And that is why you see most of the people from the rural area to the urban areas. You understand?
Okay. Before now, I said that agriculture, comprises 4 activities: crop production, livestock, forestry, and fishing. But let's still deal with the issue of production, and this brings us to the issue of rice production. The Minister of Agriculture was saying some time ago that we have paddy rice in Nigeria, and we do not have people to actually, process them into finished rice. And let's tie this as well to the gluts in the rice market. We talked about smuggling. We have a lot of rice in the Nigerian economy. Now, how do you think that we can shift our focus from importing to having to, take care of our own rice so that we can grow our economy?
It's very simple. Our government have taken some initiatives by importing some of this big equipment to process some of this paddy rice. But they have forgotten something, that you have to encourage farmers. It's what they produce as a raw materials that you can mill. You cannot have equipment and you don't have the raw materials. So the equipment are going to be underutilized. And at the end of the day, what's going to happen? They will abandon it. So I think what they should have done is to have bought little equipment for the rural farmers. Not all this gigantic one they are buying, like it's costing almost about $10 million. We don't need that right now, because don't get me wrong, we need mechanized farming in this country. But it's a step at a time. Look at the one in Lagos State, along Imota. It's there, it's being underutilized. And it's not even as big as what the federal government is buying. So I think what they should have done first is to encourage farmers by giving them incentives, by giving them what they need to plant, their policy, like maybe going to the bank, because believe me honestly, agriculture is not like other sectors, like a quick fix, like real estate or oil and gas. But look at what is really blowing to our face now, because we rely too much on the oil and gas. Look at what is happening. I think, to me, this is the time for our government. I don't care who is coming in, either APC or APDP. You don't play with people's stomach. We need people that are going to, to my suggestion, I think any party that is not going to really, that is not really going to depend on agriculture as they are one of their main states should not be voted into power. Because once food is taken out of man's life, what else remains? So food is essential. And the way we are going now, we are having a whole shortage of food. We like it or not. You know, we've been saying this for over 1 year. I remember many times I've appeared here that there's a food crisis, there's a food shortage, but the central government are not seeing it. Look at the whole of Lagos State. How many people are planting rice? Are you telling me that we don't have a swampy area to plant rice? And we are surrounded by water in Lagos State. The government has no business going to agriculture. It's supposed to be in the hands of these sectors. And until they can do that, we keep on finding ourselves into problem where government is managing agriculture, where all the businesses of agriculture is in their hands. Or what they need is enabling environment. But it's not being given. We have so many government farm estates. Is that what we need? No. Give it to the private sector. You see how they are going to turn it around.
Now, the issue of diversification of the economy has been a very hot topic during the year. Yes. Did it the agriculture sector more like the opportunity to grow? Because we've seen the slide in oil prices. When that happened, we've seen a shift in attention. Of course, that's ongoing for a couple of years. But this year has been a major one in terms of the fact that oil prices dropped more than we even envisaged. Did you think that the agriculture sector got more attention when the oil prices were dwindling?
It's not really getting the attention that we are expecting if you are really going to get out of the hood in this country, because to me, it's supposed to be an opportunity to the government that we've been depending on this oil for so long. Now it's an opportunity for us that since our oil is not marketable or they don't need it, why can't we develop our agri sector? And not only that, it's not just by saying that we are going to develop agriculture. We are supposed to have diversified a long time ago, but now it's blown to our face. Now we are smelling the coffee. But I don't think it's too late. If you have a very sincere and serious government that's going to say, listen, agriculture have to be in the front burner. And corruption is the more thing that is really usurping all the policies of agricultural sector. And once the corruption and all these practices can be taken up, believe me, honestly, farming, agriculture will go a long way in this country.
Okay.
And the same thing with fishery too.